We're doing this again, huh? For Christ's sake. All right, here we go. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Dolphin Financial Radio Show. I'm Dan Wendell, owner of Dolphin Financial Group. Today, we're going to be talking about Social Security. You know, it's not news, especially if you're on Social Security. You got a big raise. 2023 marks a big 8.7% raise in Social Security. But the question is it enough? Is that raise enough? And spoiler alert, everybody I talk to that's on Social Security says, no, it's not enough. And I'm going to bring in my co-host, Tony Shore. Tony, I know you're not on Social Security.
Nope, not yet.
What do you think? Do you think it's enough, that increase? I mean, it's the biggest we've had in probably the lifetime of anyone that's on Social Security, potentially.
In 40 years. It's the biggest increase since the early 80s. So, yeah, I would say it's the largest increase, and you would think it would be enough, but because we had such high inflation in 2022, I would say even though inflation has leveled off and in some categories has started to decline a little bit, the Fed's interest rate raising has, I think, slowed the economy a little bit. We're seeing the numbers. So in a way, that's good. Inflation's come down a little bit. Still relative. It's not 2 or 3% where we want it. It's nowhere near that. And no, it's not enough. The figures they use to come up with how much the COLA should be don't include things like, I don't think they include healthcare or groceries. Isn't that right? I mean, the formula they use, you've talked about it before on the show, Dan. Don't get me started. You know what I think about the formula that they use for the cost of living. I can't use the show up here. I can't use the words.
Tony has a meltdown in that show when we talked about cost of living increases on Social Security.
I can't use the words that I would like to for why don't they just use actual inflation numbers? Like, why don't they just go to a grocery store and look at their bills and say, oh, everything's gone up about 12% or 15%. We'll give 15%. No, they use their little calculation, which doesn't include the things that retirees spend the most on. So it's never enough, but at least it's not too, it's usually way too little. Like the 2 years where they gave you nothing, but yet grocery prices went up those years. And I remember one of the years where it was zero, I was like, okay, I know retirees have Medicare, but my healthcare insurance that year went up 20%. Literally at my work, our healthcare insurance provider raised all of our plans by about 20%. And that's the year they announced cost of living adjustment would be zero because their calculation showed inflation was zero. So, you know my thoughts on it.
Yeah. So that's it, folks. That's it. It's not enough.
It's never enough.
You got to remember, this is Tony Shore we're talking about. We did a show on Thanksgiving costs going up, and he was way off the mark on that.
Yeah.
He didn't realize that the stuffing was the biggest price increase. But let's look at what happened in 2022. And I'm going to give you the source in a minute, but prices overall went up by 7.1% on average for 2022 from October to October. But Social Security was only a 5.9% increase last year.
Yep.
So, 5.9 was a big increase when we got that. You remember that 2 years ago now. But more than a year. That was at the end of 2020. At the end of 2020, they announced that.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And in 2021, they announced that. So 5.9, ooh, that's great. And that was when inflation was starting to really creep up, and everyone was like, ooh, will it be transitory or not? Turns out it wasn't enough. And how we know? Because we did some analysis. Here's a quote. Senior Citizens League says, quote, "You know things are bad when we are hoping for Santa to leave coal."
to help pay for our heating costs, right?
Yes. So I want to look at their recent briefing that they put out, the press briefing from the Senior Citizens League. In it, they say that the headline is average Social Security benefits fall short by 46% in 2022. So if we look at last year, how much Social Security went up and how much it should have gone up, it fell short by 46%.
Ouch.
Yeah. Let me bring in the press brief so we could see. I'm going to scroll to the second page. Oh, before I do, Tony, you mentioned inflation didn't factor things in. They go through in this. Well, how can you say it's short by 46%? They go month by month, what inflation was compared to the previous year. Then they compare that to the average Social Security increase of 5.9%, what that is in dollar terms, compare that to the actual spending, and that's when they come up with, hey, we're short by 46%.
Yeah.
So what do you think was the number one increase in cost for year over year? If we're talking October of 2021 to October of 2022 last year, what went up the most? What item or what cost?
I would say energy or fuel, maybe.
The hint is in the little tagline. You know things are bad when you're hoping for Santa to leave cold.
Yeah.
Number
I wasn't even
one
thinking of that, but yeah.
was home heating.
Yeah.
Home heating oil up.
Oil, anything to do with oil went, I know it skyrocketed last year. So that'll do it right there. Yeah.
Yes. And for the viewers, you can see I have it on the bottom here. You can go and read this for yourself. Or for those listeners, it's the seniorsleague.org, and they have a press briefing. So this came out in December 14th, I think, of 2022. But we're looking at it now.
Just a week or a couple weeks ago. Just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Home heating oil, 68%.
Oh.
Up. Number two, airfare. I've mentioned this before.
Oh, yeah.
Airfare, 43%. I drove to the holidays off from Florida up to Massachusetts because I did the math on airfare for my 5 of us in the family, and I also did the math on the cost of fuel for the car. Factor in some time, some quality time with the kids, I could say, and it made more sense to drive than to fly.
Well, sure, but airfares, we could probably throw in car rental too, right, Dan? I mean, we were talking about that before the show. Car rental prices are expensive, aren't they, Dan? Do you know anything about that?
They are. So I couldn't even rent the car. And if I wanted to fly, I would have to rent a car anyway, because we went and we had to, if we got a flight, we were going to need a rental car to get to Massachusetts and New York because we did both.
Oh,
so we opted instead to drive because that would alleviate the need for the airfare and for the rental car.
And I'm like, hey,
rental car prices were high as well.
Yeah, rental car, like what, $3,000 for a large vehicle?
A couple of weeks, right, for a big wagon to house the entire family in. $3,000.
Yeah, well, I paid $1,200 for a rental back in, not this year, but the previous year, the summer we went to Colorado. Maybe it was earlier this summer, but rental cars were through the roof. I know that.
So, now are seniors traveling a lot on airfare? Maybe not the average senior, but that's the goal for a lot of people.
I see seniors on flights every time I'm on a flight.
Yeah. So, but again, this is for households 65 and up.
Yeah.
The fastest growing was airfare. Number 3, flour and prepared mixes. I don't know why they put including natural vanilla flavoring.
That's weird. Like if you want to bake a cake, here's how much it went up. Why didn't they just do groceries in general? That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Well, the ingredients for cakes went up.
and that's up 24.6%.
Wow. Yeah, I know groceries went through the roof the last couple of years. Yeah.
Right. Your big problem, and I agree, health insurance, even those on Medicare. 20% increase, 20.6% increase.
See, there it is, the 20% increase in a year. And
right.
And woo, we got that 5.9 last year that we had, the seniors had.
Right. So 2022 was tough. I mean, home heating oil, 68%, natural gas, 20%. So people just to heat their homes this winter, it's been tough.
Yeah.
And so this is the case that the Seniors Citizen Leagues was making is look at the costs across the board. Pet food, number 10, 15% up.
Wow.
And a lot of seniors have pets. If you lose a spouse, a pet's a pretty good companion. And, I have a dog and I have 3 kids. I don't know who cost me more. I think the kids.
Well, let's
But
talk about the real tragedy, though. I mean, you can talk about healthcare and heating oil, but record prices to buy an album, to buy an LP, I think that's what's really important.
record prices.
They have skyrocketed, but that really happened at the start of COVID. That really started happening in 2020. But we don't need to. I am surprised I didn't see it on the list. For
No,
seniors.
but it might be under music because the you and those in their 90s are the only ones listening to the records. So
the vinyl, the wax, as the kids call it.
now, going back to the health insurance increase,
Sure,
Medicare Part B premiums in 2023 are down.
they're going down. That's good.
Ooh, 170 a month on average for the, because there's still the IRMA for those.
Uh-huh.
I'll put the show link on here. You're like, I wish I was paying 170 a month. Why am I paying, triple that? You have an income related monthly adjustment amount. I'll put a show on there.
Yeah.
For those that want to learn about
Or
that.
you're also paying for Advantage plan premiums that might, maybe you're paying for something else.
Yeah, or a supplement or a drug plan. But Medicare Part B, which you need to get a supplement or a Medicare Advantage plan, that has actually gone down. And this is the first time that I've seen it since I've been involved in Medicare since
as long as I remember, I've never heard of it going down. In fact, anytime there's a cost of living adjustment where Social Security goes up, a lot of times the cost of those Medicare premiums go up by the same amount. So it's a wash. So you don't ever get anything in your Social Security check.
2022, I think Medicare Part B was up by over 20% or 14%, I think it was.
Yeah.
And again, the cost of living only went up by, or the COLA for Social Security was only up by 5.9.
Yeah.
But dollar for dollar, okay, we're down 3%, but it's $6, $6, $5.
Mm-hmm.
$5 is like, what is that? That's nothing. $5 a month. I mean,
but it's better than a kick in the pants. It's better than
it's
better than it going up, which it almost always does. So I was shocked that it went down even by 3%, even by $6 a month. I mean, it is something.
It is, but we're getting 8.7% now. Everyone's going to be getting 8.7%. A lot of people have already seen that in their first check. Some got it in December of 2022.
Wow.
So is it enough? Is it enough? Now, the good news is that 8.7% is on top of the 5.9 from the previous year, meaning this is compounding. So this is a sizable increase. This is 8.7 is pretty darn good. If you could get an 8.7% return, you're going to take it.
Because it's locked in. They don't ever take it away. Once you get an increase, it's locked in, and then any further increases are on top of it.
Right.
They don't ever reduce your Social Security benefit once you've filed. Unless you
they
work.
don't. Right. And they don't they're not reducing it by Medicare Part B. So that's actually gone down. So they're getting the full amount. Whatever that 8.7% dollar is, you're getting it. Is it enough? Now, I do want to point out those that aren't yet claiming, hey, I'm delaying Social Security. Do I get this 8.7 or do I not get it because I didn't claim? We did a show on that. I'll put that on here. So if you want to know if you get it, watch that show. So this 8.7% increase for 2023, we can't answer it. You say it's not enough. Everyone I ask says it's not enough. I say maybe it's enough.
Depends if inflation goes back down to 2 or 3%.
Right.
If inflation falls to 2 or 3%, then it's probably going to be enough.
Because the point of the cost of living isn't to increase your income just for the sake of it.
Right.
The point of the cost of living increase is to keep up with inflation.
Yeah, which it never does.
Failed at. Last year we failed.
It fails every year.
Makes a good point.
Yeah.
Will the 8.7% increase be enough to cover the costs of 2023? Right now, no. January, no, right? It's like, there's still a high inflation, but during the summer, what if we start seeing this go down? And the Fed's goal is to try and get it between 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
So if we get there by the end of the year, that means inflation's going down, 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 down. Maybe that 8.7, the government will be like, well, that was a bad idea. They got all this extra money. Let them eat bread and cheese. But I think this is a case where we don't know. I will say this: if inflation goes down and it goes to zero, not happening. If it did, I'd still say good. I think Social Security should have gotten that raise, because you know what's going to happen, Tony. We just had a record breaker, 8.7% for 2023. If we have inflation go down to 2, what do you think the cost of living increase will be for 2024?
The big O.
Right. It'll quickly come, quickly go.
The egg. the egg, the zero.
So increase in Social Security is not enough to put you in a better situation. It never was designed for that. It was designed to combat inflation. And, in the case of 2022, it wasn't enough. Will it be for 2023? So if you're saying no, it's not. Even if inflation goes to zero, it's still not enough. Right. Well, join the club, because that means Social Security is doing what it's supposed to do, and it's not to replace your whole income.
Yeah.
It's to replace a part of your income. And in our previous show, we talked about, high cost of living. Should you be able to retire early because you can replace your income with the extra wages? No. Social Security, it's a progressive tax, but it's not supposed to replace 100% of your income.
Yeah, I think you need other sources of income, which, Dan, you've really talked a lot about on past shows. You're very adamant about that.
Yeah, I think Social Security is the number one income. It's taxed. It's not all taxed. It's got a cost of living increase. It's backed by the best government in the world. So, yes, I love it, but it's not enough. It's never enough.
Yeah,
it's never enough, and the cost of living will never be enough either. Right. But compared to what? I think they could be enough, relatively speaking, to combat inflation. But it's not going to replace all your income. So you have to look elsewhere, and that's what I do. So I think we agree, Tony. Social Security, 8.7, we'll take it. Not enough. If the government's going to give more, I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, Dan, we did a show before we go. I remember you and I did a show about, buying new vehicles versus used. And I thought I'd bring that up today. Do you want to discuss that as well today?
I think we'll kick the can on that one, Tony, for another show. That one's in the archives. I think that's like 3 years ago. Lots changed since then, Tony. So everyone, thanks for a good show. Be sure to check out all the podcasts we do on Social Security if you want more about this. We do so many on it. But this one, I think, Tony, we're going to have to wait. Maybe we'll do a reprise of this at the end of the year and say, hey, was it enough? Maybe not. We'll see. Have a good week, everybody.
All matters discussed in today's show are for informational purposes only.
This show is not investment advice.
Dan Wendell nor Dolphin Financial Group are affiliated or endorsed by any government agency.
Investment advisory services are offered through Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc., a registered investment advisor in the state of Florida.
Insurance products and services are offered through Dolphin Insurance, Inc.
Dolphin Wealth Management, Inc. and